Hi, and welcome to this week's Coaches Show. I'm your host, Matt Clark, with my co-host, Peyton Clark. Welcome, Peyton.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, we got a good show lined up for you today. We got a good friend of mine came in and decided to do the show with us. Appreciate him coming on. His name's Tim Turk with Tim Turk Hockey. He's a professional shooting and scoring coach. Works with NHL all the way down, and he's an amazing coach. Welcome to the show, Tim.
Hey, fellas, good afternoon. Thanks for having me, whatever time zone everybody's in out there. I can't be more excited to come on the show and just answer questions and share some experiences. But I wanted to make a comment about that intro. I was like, holy crap. Like, I'm watching the sports stuff up there, and then I see basketball. I'm like, who the crap plays basketball when you touch somebody, the whistle goes? You know, like I'm kidding, or like then there's soccer, you can't use your hands. I'm like, what the heck, what's going on? But then I saw football, and that's like a passion of mine growing up. I played football in the past as well, but here we are just talking, and this is man, I can't wait to answer questions. A pleasure to meet you, Baden. I hope you got your questions ready and you're prepared to go.
Oh yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready.
Yeah,
it's gonna be fun.
He's a man of many words, so I'm sure we're going to get a lot out of him.
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah, great. I appreciate you taking the time today, Tim. And I know you got a busy schedule and how everything's going. How are things been up in Canada?
It's kind of, for me, it's bittersweet. My happy place, and you saw that. I'm pretty sure you've seen that picture of a rink where this is my happy place. Haven't had the opportunity to really do that much. I feel like I've forgotten how to skate because we've been shut down up here. We were in shutdown, then we came out of it, and then like 2 weeks later, back in a complete shutdown. And I'm in the Toronto area, just north of Toronto. And the one thing that this whole thing has done for me is it's made me a little bit more tech savvy. Now that we're doing all this stuff that's, we're streaming online, we're doing all these meetings, Zoom meetings and Google Meets and all that kind of stuff. So I can say one thing is I now I know how to share my screen when I'm trying to teach someone. I'm doing more analyzing and presentations, and I can type faster I can use 2 fingers instead of 1 now. So it's been kind of, to be honest, it's been awful up here not being able to work or get on the ice because I'm a hands-on type of teacher. So I'm hoping that the world just all the dust settles one of these days and we can sit on a roller coaster beside somebody one day.
Absolutely. I mean, this COVID thing's really shaken up not just North America, Canada and US, but the whole world. And I know teams even overseas have been struggling as well. But I don't know why Canada is so slow on getting back on track and getting going.
You know what? I'm not political at all, but I'm going to leave that to the people that are running the country. And one of the things that's really challenging for people like myself is to try and think positive all the time. And then I start to realize as a coach or a teacher, and I do a specific skill, and I try and do my best to help players to always think positive. So now I know what they feel like. Our case is we can't teach, and in their case they can't play. And I'm like, holy smokes! You know what? It's going to get better. It's going to get better. Elevate the patients. Stay focused. You can pre-plan. We can pre-plan so much stuff now. We just want to make sure that we're able to apply those things. Hopefully after everything lifts here. But man, it's a challenge, and I should note if all the listeners out there and everyone's watching. I don't care if I know you or not. If you need to talk about anything sports related, hockey, if you're an athlete, I'm available at any time.
That's awesome, Tim. Yeah, and I think you and I talked about it and touched on it, on how if people would just follow the rules, we can get back to normal sooner than later. I know with Peyton here, he struggles with that where he manages the rink locally here and runs into problems left and right with people not following the rules.
Yeah, no protocols. And that's the thing, I get that whether you're old school or not, whether you feel like you are an Iron Man or Iron person or whatever, follow the protocols. It's so simple. Like rules to me it's simplistic. But hey, you know what? I'm just going to drop my mask down because I want to address somebody, right? No, you will. Everybody will adjust, and I think that once people start to realize that, hey, if we all are on the same page when it comes to following protocol, it's only going to speed up and accelerate us back to a normalcy.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. So, so what's one of the challenges that you're facing right now with being off the ice? I mean, has that been a big deal for you?
Yeah, it's just, I would say for me on the mental side as a teacher, I'm always used to constantly being amongst the actual athletic public. So I thrive on having an observation type of mode everywhere I go. So try to learn something. I'm trying to learn something. So to walk into a rink and see practices going on, my head's on a swivel. I'm scanning everywhere so I can try and learn something, see what others are doing. Can't do that now.
Right.
So that would be one of the main challenges that I'm facing is, not being able to watch and observe, and whether it's I'm teaching and observing or I'm just observing anything that's going on in the environment, in the hockey environment, because I pick so many things when I'm watching to help me to teach others. So that's a struggle.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I like what you said there, how you pick other things and you constantly learn. That's one of the things I feel a lot of coaches lack is the ability to really pay attention and pick up new things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I just did this presentation, I'll call it. There's a company called the Coaches Site, and they did a huge world skills symposium where a bunch of top end skills coaches got together. And I was more excited to watch other presentations, than watch myself on there. I don't like watching myself because when you watch yourself back, you're like, oh, I should have said this, I should have said that. Oh crap, But what you say is what you're thinking. So yeah, it's like to not be able to deliver messages like you're so used to, like you get into a habitual pattern. Doesn't mean you say the same things all the time, but you're so used to delivering messages to whether it's kids or teenagers or adults or NHL pros for that matter. You're always used to delivering something or helping out. So now, that's come to a stalemate. So, we'll make our adjustments and elevate our patience to hopefully be able to do that again soon.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what do you find is a little more challenging, working with professional players or working with non-professional players?
That's a great question. That's so check this out. So I got a phone call because my number's all over the world. I got a phone call from a mom, a hockey mom, and she's like, "Hey, Mr. Turk, my son is 7 years old, and we go to a city skating kind of thing, where it's just everyone can go and you sign up or whatever. But he needs to know how to shoot." She says, "I see here that you work with NHL players. Am I wasting your time?" I'm like, "No, I got to the NHL by working with 7-year-olds."
Yeah.
So the only thing that kind of changes for me, like I get so much energy from the younger players out there, and it's kind of like wondering what's in that present that's under the tree. You pick up the kid, you shake him a little bit, and you're like, I don't know what's this kid going to end up with. Like, how's he going to turn out? So if you keep them on a path and you can see the progression in their confidence levels and trying to apply things, whether it's add more tension to something or quickness or power or agility and stuff, and you see them how they're kind of like progressing and they're getting a little bit better and they're smiling on their face, and then all of a sudden it's like, they turn 15. Up here in Canada, 15 years old, you get a junior draft year.
Right.
Whether you get drafted or not doesn't matter, but that's like a milestone for a player that's, since they're 7 or 8 years old, they go through that process. And then the next step, 3 years later down the road, you see still progression in these players. So the difference between me teaching a non-pro and a pro is just small increments. Like it's all about fine tuning things. You know, a younger player, you can make them do a big change, and an older player or a pro, you have to make them do little teeny changes because you don't want them to feel uncomfortable, or they'll just christen you and say, take that and get out of here, kind of thing. You know, because so it's got to be comfortable. But then again, guys, you know, I don't mean to talk your ears off here, but
No,
if a player, and you know this, when you get a connection with any player, even on as a team, and you start to connect with your team or the individuals that are on your team, then you know that you can make suggestions on bigger types of modifications.
Right.
Like you want to take the word change. People don't want to hear change anymore. There's so many ways to say things, but then if they trust that you know what you're talking about, or there's knowledge there, then they'll make a bigger modification or a bigger change to do things. So yeah, but that's the difference. It's just the way you deliver it, how you talk. But like I said before, man, that 6-year-old that turned to 26 used to be 6. So, you know, how you talk to them is kind of unique. It's got to be special to each individual.
Absolutely. I mean, I've coached, and I know Peyton has 2 younger kids and all the way up. And each player, you're right, is individual, and you have to really get to know your team and each player individually. Otherwise, you lose the players.
100%, Clarky. You know, one of the things that comes to mind is I constantly get players or parents, depending on the age group and you know the level that they're at, and they'll say, the one player will come up to you and say, "Can you teach me to shoot like Steven Stamkos?" Yeah. Or the parent will be like, "Well, you know that Pedersen guy in Vancouver? I'd like my son to release a puck like him." And I'm like, "Time out, man. You know, we're all like fingerprints. So I want to teach your kids to have their own signature type of shot release and have others want to be them."
Yeah.
Right.
You know, so it's something, and everyone, the way we do things, you know, the 3 of us, if we're all right-handed shots and we all take a wrister, we're all going to do it different, even though we're trying to do it the same. So my job is to try and, I'll use the word surgically observe what you're doing so I can help you to do it a little bit quicker, faster, stronger, more accurate, with more confidence, stuff like that.
Absolutely. And confidence is a huge part. If they don't feel that confidence, both in their coaches and, like in your case, in their shooting and scoring coaches, their skating coaches, they struggle.
100%. You know, and I was just texting back and forth with an NHL player, and he was like, I feel like when I turn left, I can't get the puck in the right position. So what do I need to do? I'm like, get a skating coach. Talk to your skating coach, you know, because when players improve their skating, to me, it naturally enhances their puck skills.
Yep. Everything
Absolutely.
else comes with it.
Yeah, Bates. Like,
yep.
So, you know, so think if you're going forward, you put more weight in the back of the boot to maneuver. I'm not a skating coach, but because I want players to like me, that's why I pick shooting. But but you know, you got to displace. There's a displacement of weight. You know, whether you're engaging your ankle on an inside-outside edge, you know, and the skating coach makes you understand how that works. And then, kind of like me, if you can connect the mind to the motion pattern, then you're able to add strength and power to it. You know, if it's been fine-tuned or corrected or modified. So skating is a huge attribute to have to help with other things.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. We got to take a quick commercial break. On the backside of the commercial, we'll be back with Tim Turk.
Welcome to Pilot-Mound Hockey-Academy, your world-class academic and hockey training facility created to maximize each student's athletic and academic potential. Blackjack Stewart Arena, home of the Buffalo, is inside the 46,000 square foot complex, as well as a curling rink and other facilities. The students have a unique combination of successful, well-rounded education at Pilot-Mound Collegiate Institute and the professional hockey training in an encouraging community. The years of experience of on-ice coaching propel our students to the next level, both mentally and physically, in a professional environment.
And welcome back to the Coaches Show. I'm your host, Matt Clark, with co-host Peyton Clark, and our special guest, Tim Turk with Tim Turk Hockey. Hey, Timmy. How you doing, buddy?
Really good, man. Really, like so excited to do this, guys. And I'm just a little bit worried, though. I'm a little bit worried. Beto hasn't asked me a question yet. I was just wondering if he's a little shy in the presentation here. I'm like, holy smokes, maybe I got him starstruck or something. I'm like, what's going on here?
Just a quiet guy, you know. I just
man of many words.
I need to.
Right on, man. Right on.
Yeah. Man of many words, like I said.
No kidding.
Short with words, but long with time.
Exactly.
So do you have any specific drills you like to use with professional players when they're struggling or that they struggle with?
Yeah, one of the things that players do commonly is they get their hands to start to condense towards the body. So it restricts the motion pattern or the range of that motion that they need to. And it's a common thing, like some players' anxiety just jumps in and it's unconscious that it happens when you're pressured or there's stress levels that are elevating in the situations that they get put into. And, the tension control part as well. So when players, like you've probably seen this, where a player will be skating down the wall with the puck and then in comes the checker and they're able to contact level. And then they meet shoulder to shoulder, but the player that was with the biscuit or carrying the puck ends up on his toilet, ends up on his butt when he just got hit in the shoulder. So what happens is when players are getting ready to absorb that impact, they tense up. The whole body tenses up. So I have this component called tension control. Whether you're shooting a puck, you're squeezing really tight to get as much power as you can, or receiving a hard pass. If you receive a hard pass and you keep that tension on, that's when you see the puck kind of blow off the blade a little bit. It starts to bounce off because they haven't untensed or cushioned or received it in a certain timing aspect with softness in that tension. They remain. It's the same thing when you tense your whole body up. Right. That's why they end up on their butt, because they didn't they've stayed tense with the impact, after the impact, and then all of a sudden they're on their butt like, what? This guy just hit me in my shoulder. What the heck am I doing on my butt? Well, because you didn't untense enough to regain control, reestablish your balance to react again. And it's common. So one of those things would be I'd say it's really common in teaching these players and athletes to control their tension, number one, and suggest they get range of motion with those hands, get them away from their body. So I do a whole, like the drills to me, when I'm applying drills for players, I customize them to what the needs are. But the most common ones are to do like little reach drills where hands are away from the body, but they reestablish a power position with range of motion, whether it's pulling a puck under a device and then shooting and rotating and then reestablishing hand position, or it's just doing it without a puck. Doing these drills, sometimes even in team drills, sometimes you can run through a drill without even having a puck involved, so that the players they're establishing what route you want them to be on, or what modifications, or anticipation things and stuff like that. Like you draw a straight line, and then all of a sudden you'll get players who are literally X and O players. You guys know this as coaches, and then right along that line there's another player in the way, so they stop. They're like, hey, you shouldn't be here. You shouldn't be here because my coach says I got to go straight that way, instead of instead of modifying or changing that and adjusting to go around where they need to go to. So all kinds of drills.
Absolutely. And I think with coaches, they have a misconception that the puck should be on a kid's blade all the time. And I know with like breakout drills, when we're working with kids that aren't familiar, or even the older kids that aren't familiar, we run it through without the pucks. And that's, I think, a big part of it is getting that mindset.
Absolutely. It's funny. I remember before we shut down, like last year, one of the coaches says, well, what do you think of this breakout drill where, we're going to have the middle available. We're going to have the middle available, but I don't want my players to, you're a double A level up here, but I don't want my players to hit that as a priority. That's not going to be the priority pass, but I'm going to have Johnny, who's a lefty, swinging to the right so he can get on his forehand. And Frankie, who's a lefty, who's swinging to his left, or sorry, a righty swinging to his left to get on his forehead and I'm like, what happens if they switch?
Yeah.
Oh, then they won't be able to pick up the pass. And I'm like, well, then you got to work on your passing, because I guess you can have a set breakout play where your lefties are curling to get on the forehand when there's a power play breakout. You know what I mean? But to get going quickly, a lot of coaches are in that mindset. They're like, oh man, this is one of my best players, but he can't pick up a pass on the backhand. So, and then they got to allocate time to work on those skills.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right. But it does come down to the basics too, right?
Yeah, exactly. Remember that word, basic.
Yeah. It's funny. I was watching one of your videos the other day, and one of the biggest things that I think is undertaught is keeping your head up. You went in pretty good detail about what kids need to look for in players. And actually, I've seen it in the NHL. Even recently, we were watching a game the other night, and two guys got hit because they were looking down at the puck, and they got lit up pretty good.
Yeah. Head up versus head down. There's drills that you can do. Speaking of drills, there's drills you can do. And one of the things that I try and help players with is this. Hey, Baden, what's that vision called where you're looking at something but you can see other things?
Your peripheral.
That's what's called. It's called peripheral vision. So the thing about teaching peripheral vision and focal points is what people think. What people think is if you're focusing on one thing and that's where your vision is, there's other things around it that you can see. People think those other things that are around the focal point are out of focus. It's not true. So everything's in focus. We just got to work on certain drills to help us to understand what the focal point is and what the secondary focal point is, even though they're still at the same focus. Unless you get into your 180-degree, peripheral vision, it's a little bit different out there. But if you can concentrate on it, you can still bring it into focus. So it's just doing drills to do that is critical. But you're right. Players have their head down, and then what they'll do is they'll check where they're going, so their head will be down more than it's up, where it's got to be opposite. It's okay to look at the biscuit, but you just got to glance at it. You got to glance at it. So you got to instill or try and create drills for your teams or your team and your players to help with those.
Right. So who's your favorite professional player you've worked with to this point?
I got, it's I'm going to say number 11 in Montreal. I'm kind of biased because like when I first I was there before he got drafted into Montreal. I was there for quite some time, and his work ethic on the ethics side of all ethics, like his winning attitude ethic and all that stuff is. I haven't met anyone in my lifetime that's as motivated and driven as Brendan Gallagher is. Mm-hmm. And the funny thing about that, I know funny but not funny, is it's that part of his athleticism is so contagious. So he makes everyone else around him, if they want to, if they're passionate just about improving, to improve or get stronger or get faster. And like I know last year, 2019, 2020 season, they do testing. There's testing going on. There's, all kinds of combine stuff. And he's the number one strongest player in Montreal. Strength.
Yeah.
Like I'm talking bench press more than Shea Weber, so like but he focuses on that kind of stuff. But sometimes when I say being stronger than someone, there's technique involved.
Oh yeah.
Right.
When you do a squat, right? Bades, you're doing a squat, you squat through your heels, you don't squat through your toes.
Yep.
So whenever someone displaces something, then you can see how strong they really are. So it's interesting.
Yeah, and I bet his passion is right there in hand with his play, and it's that infectious, personality that he brings that makes him a huge asset to any locker room. Right,
Clarky, 100%. And it's all positive too. Mm-hmm. It's not like he's a motivator, yeller, screamer. Hey guys, come on, let's go. He's not like that. He just through his actions. He doesn't have to talk. through his actions, and that's important to have someone like that on every team.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And as a coach, I mean, that makes it easier for you as well, because those are the type of players that you can fine tune and really take in what you teach them and take it to heart.
Right. Like, it's funny you say that, because sometimes, like, I'm not too aware of the coaching aspect. I've been around a lot of coaches, and I admire so much things that go on in coaching versus teaching, and to
Right.
me, yeah, like to me, coaching, it's a unique kind of type of job, being able to, try and manage all those multiple personalities that you're talking about. And then you might find a way to extract some sort of type of things from your players that you don't know they had, that could help you to succeed with the team by them being an example. So yeah, you just got to, as a coach, you got to want to do that too. You got to want to. It just bugs me sometimes. It's challenging where there's, like you said in the beginning, some coaches are set in their ways. Whether they're old school, whatever, and that's one thing that I'll be vocal about all the time. If you don't have an open mind, you're going to stay where you are.
Yeah.
If you have an open mind, you just might elevate.
Yeah.
Right. And I like the way you put it, coaching and teaching. There's so many different types of coaches, but like in your case, you're a teacher. You're teaching players to fine tune their game and do things that coaches don't have the time to do and can't take the time to do.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's a fine line between coaching and teaching, because up here in Canada, I'm going to go on record by saying there's a lot of coaches that think they're teachers.
Yeah.
There's a lot of teachers that think they're coaches, and then they try and do both.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that old school saying, it's something like it's jack of all trades, but master of none.
Yeah.
But then there are some unique individuals out there that have the ability to hit the switch and say, okay, I'm your coach now. You know what I mean? Even though 4 kids on the team or 4 players on the team train with that particular coach that he teaches.
Right.
So it's rare, but there's a couple of good ones that I know of that can coach and then switch and teach and do both. But you got to be so focused, guys, and got to be so aware of what you're doing.
Absolutely. Well, hey, I want to say thank you for being on the show, Tim. I greatly appreciate it. I appreciate you taking the time and spending the afternoon with us.
Yeah.
Absolutely, guys, man. I can't say how excited I am to be able to do this. It's so important for me to be able to share information with everybody, and just to help not only make it a better world, but try and improve us as we go forward. So thanks for having me.
Absolutely, buddy. Again, this is a coach's show. We'll be back after these messages.
Welcome to this week's Rock Performance Fuel Your Game Foundation tip. Now, one of the simplest ways to improve your energy, your endurance, your focus, your recovery, even your quality of sleep is through water. Now, I know a lot of us say, oh, I drink a ton of water all day long. It can be really tricky, and I say it's simple, but it's not easy. Rule of thumb used to be 8 glasses of 8 ounces of water. Doesn't really apply to everybody across their age, their height, their weight. So instead, we look at drinking half of your weight in ounces. So for example, somebody who weighs 150 pounds, you're looking at 75 ounces of water. Now, get a measuring cup, some sort of measuring cup, not just whatever your water bottle says it holds. Get something with actual measures to see exactly what that number looks like. Now, it's not that you have to do this every day, but just to get an idea of how much water that actually is. You obviously don't want to try to drink it all in one shot, so it needs to be spread out throughout the day. So that means you're carrying your water with you to school, whether you're doing homework at home or something virtual, making sure you have water with you. That level of foundation, whatever that base number is for you, is actually just a base. Once you start sweating, once you're working out, you need to increase the water, increase the hydration levels to make sure that you're replacing everything that you're sweating out through your body. Another good way to tell if your body is properly hydrated, and I know it sounds gross, but check the color of your pee. Anything that's kind of a pale to a light yellow, you're doing really good. Anything that's a little darker than that, you need to up your hydration, okay? Yes, you'll get some water from food. However, let's focus on getting it from actual water sources until you understand what it feels like for your body to be totally hydrated. Now, I know water can taste kind of boring and plain. Instead of paying more for those flavored waters that usually have a whole bunch of garbage in them, add some fresh fruit, some frozen fruit into your water to give it an actual natural flavor. So stay hydrated, guys, and you are on your way to building that foundation.